Hello and welcome to the How to Deal with Rummaging Behavior. Our guest speaker today is Dr. Deborah Beer, PhD, and she is the ComForCare At Your Side Dementia Care Specialist. She's been a psychotherapist and non-medical home care director for nearly 25 years and holds a doctorate degree in therapeutic counseling. Debbie has been certified by the Massachusetts Alzheimer's Association and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to train dementia caregivers and coach dementia families. Welcome, Dr. Beer.
Thank you, Lori. I'm just going to get this up on my screen. Any second now. Okay, great. I'm glad everyone could make it today. And we're going to talk about rummaging behavior. And that's me. And then we're going to go through the agenda today. We're going to answer these questions. What is rummaging behavior? Why do people with dementia rummage? When is rummaging dangerous? Should rummaging be stopped? And can rummaging behavior be turned into a productive activity? So before I start on that, I want to just clarify some terms. The terms Alzheimer's and dementia are often confused, so I'd like to clarify them so we all know what we're talking about. Dementia is a group of symptoms that involve some kind of cognitive impairment. And there are a lot of different kinds of dementia. There are some main ones, but there are literally dozens possible, most of them being rare. Alzheimer's is just one type of dementia, and it's the most frequently diagnosed and the one we hear the most about. Okay, so let's define what rummaging behavior is. Some people with dementia will go through and touch and pick up and carry and move objects that are stored in dressers, closets, cabinets, or that are out on counters, shelves, and on tables. Some of them will also hide things in strange places and then can't remember where they hid them or where their places are, or even remember what that object was. And they might do this again and again and again for a long time, often daily. And rummaging can make some families very upset. So let's talk about why people rummage, and then we'll talk about that upset that a lot of families experience. So understanding any kind of dementia behavior, we first have to understand and remember that because of dementia, often their ability to communicate with words deteriorates. So therefore, we have to take any difficult behavior and regard it as a form of communication. And rummaging then becomes a form of communication. And it's up to us as the caregivers to figure out what it means for that person. So here are some of the reasons that people rummage. Not all of them will apply to any one person, though people can have more than one reason. The first thing is that they're looking for something, and they don't recall what it is, but they're looking, and they'll often say, "I'll know it when I find it." Another reason is that they're bored, and they need to keep busy and engaged for their happiness and well-being. Another reason is that they may feel, they look around at their stuff, at all the things around, and they feel overwhelmed and puzzled, and they want to examine everything. Some people like interacting with their environment, and so they rummage. Others just don't know what else to do. They don't know what other project to start, and they don't know how to start or keep a project going. Now, some people rummage because they're anxious and upset, or they feel that they've lost something or something has been stolen from them. And those are the people that you'll see, they'll be anxiously rummaging. Other people are more calm and happy rummaging, and they're enjoying the sensory experience of the touch, moving things around of different shapes, feeling the weight of things, the texture, looking at the colors. Some people are just soothed by a ritual of rummaging in a particular place once or more a day. And the thing is that they can have a very specific meaning to that specific person. And we have to be able to parse that and figure out what that person is feeling and why they're rummaging. You know, some think that they're having their possessions stolen, so they hide them so that they'll be safe, and then they can't remember that they hid them, and they can't find them, which only affirms the fact that someone is stealing my important stuff, so they better hide some more, when in fact they were the ones hiding and stealing their own important stuff. So let's talk about when rummaging can be dangerous. There are sharp, fragile, breakable, poisonous, or hot objects in our homes, and some of them can come into contact with a rummager. For example, someone might rummage near the stove and put some things on a hot burner, or they might be looking underneath the plates that are under each burner. That might be a hiding place for them. Going through drawers with something sharp, glass, whether it's precious to your family or not, it's still fragile and can hurt them. We have to remember people with dementia have little or no safety awareness, and they have trouble understanding the consequences of their action. They can't look forward to say, if I do this, this dangerous thing could happen. So that they can get hurt or someone else can get hurt from the rummaging. We have to also remember that people with dementia are fall risks, and they're placing a lot of objects often on the floor and disordering them. And so they or someone else can trip. They can also lose things or hide things that are precious to your family, that are valuable either sentimentally or in monetary value. So we have to act to protect them and to protect others as well as our possessions. I have a little trouble forwarding here. Okay, so talking about protecting your valuables and possessions, you want to lock away anything that's fragile, irreplaceable, or valuable either to your heart or to your pocketbook. And then you want to search for their possible hiding places. You never want to empty the trash until you've checked it, because that is sometimes a place that someone with dementia will hide valuables. And if you have important documents that they'd like to go through, like a marriage license, birth certificate, old photos, you want to take a copy of those and leave the copy with the rummager and take away and lock up the valuables. Some common hiding places, you'd be surprised how varied they can be. They can be under cushions, under the bed or mattress, or under a rug. Sometimes inside shoes, purses, coat pockets. Sometimes in washing machines, dryers, dishwashers, trash compactors, trash bins, sink drains, or garbage disposals. We definitely want to check those if we have someone who's hiding things, to make sure that they haven't put something valuable in there, which will both be destroyed by the water and the force of the machine, as well as hurt the machine itself. Then under those stove burners, not all stoves have burners that lift up, you might want to use some latches that are hard to work, that aren't obvious and easy to figure out, with locks, or to camouflage something so that a hiding place seems like it's disappeared. So there's a couple of points I want us to think about rummaging. Rummaging in and of itself is not something that has to be stopped because it exists. I know rummaging can make others very upset. It destroys the order of your household sometimes, and sometimes things can get broken or lost. And it's just annoying to have to keep putting those things back. But it can be made safe for the person. And if the person is happy rummaging, we should let them do that. And this is how we can decide whether or not this is rummaging we should allow the person to do. Are they agitated, upset, or anxious while they're rummaging? Or are they happy? And have you been able to make them safe? If they're agitated, upset, and anxious, that's a different story. But if they're happy and safe, then I think we should allow them to enjoy their rummaging. When they're unsafe or when they're unhappy, that's when we have to look at making some changes. So, should rummaging be stopped if the family feels it should be stopped? First, I'd suggest before stopping rummaging is to try setting up safer rummaging. That means to put away, lock up anything that could harm that person or another person. And don't take anything for granted thinking that, oh, they won't hurt themselves on this. They know better than that. Well, we don't really know what they know from one minute to next when it comes to safety. I would be on the safe side and put away anything that seems like it could harm that person or someone else. Remove and lock up anything that's valuable to you that you would be very disappointed if it was lost, hidden, or broken. And keep in mind fire and fall risks, and reduce the number of hiding places so that it's easier for you to find things. So for setting up a rummaging area, you should remove any non-essential items that the person doesn't enjoy rummaging, because sometimes having too many objects can be overwhelming to someone with dementia. And feel free to close off some rooms to limit how many rooms that person can rummage in. That means that they'll end up going to rooms that they can access. Some people rummage through the mail and they hide your important bills. So if that's something that's going on in your household, you can have your mail held at the post office box, have it diverted to the office, that kind of thing, and have only the junk mail come to the house, which they don't forward anyway, so the person can enjoy going through the catalogs. And for higher level people with dementia who are still able to read, you might help them help you by creating some order out of objects that they can enjoy, putting things labeled socks in the socks drawer and things that are labeled hats in the hat drawer. And for people who are no longer able to read, you can sometimes use a photograph or a drawing that will show the type of objects that would go into that box or that drawer or that closet. Another place that people with dementia rummage is in the trash. Not only do they hide things in there, but they'll take things out and they'll touch them and they'll handle them and maybe even eat them. So you want to make sure that spoiled food or anything that you don't want to get introduced back into the house because it's dirty is either taken out of the house or put in some area locked or hard to get into. And then for families who really want to stop their loved one from doing all rummaging, I have to ask, do you really need to? This is something that's fulfilling some kind of a need for them, and they're enjoying. It's a type of communication that they're making. You could stop their rummaging, perhaps, if you figured out the reasons that they rummage and then find out what the unmet needs are that rummaging is meeting, and then consistently find another way to meet those needs, providing some kind of appropriate activities, social time, other types of stimulation to the senses, giving the person pleasurable experience. I think that the best path is to keep rummaging limited, interesting, and safe, and that everyone in the house needs to learn to accept it at a certain level, because we need to be the ones to adjust and to be flexible. The person with dementia is trying their very best, and they can't do more than they already are. So, can rummaging become a productive activity? I think you already know my answer to this, that yes. If it can be kept safe and they're happy doing it, then I would not just allow it, but I would encourage rummaging. When it can't be made safe or they're very anxious and upset and it's really not meeting their needs, then I would substitute another activity. And for best success on any problem with dementia behavior, consider it communication, find what they're telling you is an unmet need, and then find a solution that meets that need. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of figuring out what the person's communicating and what the unmet need is and a solution that we came up with. First one is Grace, and by the way, I've changed people's names and specifics for confidentiality. Grace, who has dementia, could be suspicious. having a new caregiver put her over the top with anxiety and distrust. Grace was hiding things all over the house, and she kept looking for her stolen purse, though she hadn't had one for years. So we had to ask, what was Grace trying to communicate, and what did she need? So what I think she was saying was, I don't trust my new caregiver. I don't have a relationship with her, and I don't know if I can trust her. And I want my purse. You know, for women, that's a real instinct, is grabbing that purse. And if she's done that for years and years, it doesn't matter if she doesn't have a purse anymore. She can't remember that. She remembers that, oh, things don't seem safe. I'm going to grab my purse, make sure that I keep it with me. And what did she need? I think that she needed to develop some trust with her caregiver. And she needed her purse, darn it. So we recommend that the family find Grace's purse, which was just an old purse that they took out of a closet, and put a few things inside, like pencils, papers, some coins, some old keys that aren't used anymore. It's amazing how many of us have old keys around the house that we're not using, but it's a pretty common thing. And then every time when the caregiver was there and Grace left the room, the caregiver reminded Grace that she might want to take her purse with her. Would you like to take your purse? Or, oh, Grace, you forgot your purse. So that the caregiver was letting Grace know that she was going to be respectful and that she had Grace's interests and safety of her valuables in mind. And as they got to know each other, Grace's suspicions let up, and after a week or two, the purse was no longer needed, and she also stopped hiding as often. She was still a hider, but she didn't hide as often. Another example is Harry's wife, Phyllis, said, he's driving me nuts. He goes through the hats and gloves in the front hall drawer every day, again and again. He seems angry when I try to stop him. So what was Harry communicating, and what did he need? Well, Harry was saying, I want to rummage. Don't stop me from rummaging. And what did he need? Well, he really liked touching the objects and handling them. It was something he liked to do solo. But we thought we might try other activities and some social interaction with Phyllis. So she got out the photo albums of their favorite trips together and photos of his family growing up, because those would be things that he might remember from the past. And they looked at them together, and he especially liked seeing the birds he had photographed. And sometimes he'd remember stories that Phyllis told about the picture. So this was something that stimulated memory, because they were meaningful events in his life. But he still liked the hat and glove drawer, didn't rummage as often. Phyllis learned to accept his rummaging, since he was only interested in that one safe drawer, which did not require close supervision. And I'd like to add that Phyllis also learned to appreciate that he only liked to rummage in one safe drawer, as opposed to all over the house and with unsafe things. It was really a very controlled rummaging situation. So I would recommend for someone who enjoys rummaging, or someone who just doesn't know what to do and you can't engage them in something, is to build them a rummage box or bag. People who enjoy rummaging should be encouraged to do safe rummaging, and if we set it up, hopefully it's going to be a lot safer than if they figure out someplace random in the house they want to rummage. So choose something that's distinctively theirs, a bag, a box, a drawer, or an area like an office. Some people, although they are retired, feel like they want to go work at the office. They remember feeling good about that. So you can send them to work in their office with papers and maybe a disconnected phone and things like that. And what to put in that area? Well, what do they enjoy holding and handling? What do they talk about? What are they drawn to? And they might be things with interesting textures of fabric, magazines, newspapers, photographs, safe things that provide some pleasant reminders of the past, like copies of the photos that Harry had of the birds that he had taken those photos. Socks, hats, gloves. It's hard to get hurt by socks, hats, and gloves. Those are great things. They can have different textures, different colors. People enjoy them. You can take them apart the pairs or keep them together. Cloth napkins or towels, ask them to hold or fold them, or soft toys. There are times, though, when rummaging really isn't right for the person. when a person who is rummaging is agitated and upset, they're not rummaging because it's making them happy. They feel something is lost, they're confused. We need to find out what's really going on with them and look deeper to find what the need is to meet it. Same as when a person is acting out in other ways. Sometimes rummaging can keep them occupied and happy, but if they're really not taking to it and they're acting out, then we need to look at their needs. You know, rummaging is not a cure-all. It's not the only thing we can do with people with dementia, and it doesn't meet everyone's needs all the time. Even happy rummagers don't like to do it all the time. They have their limits. So we always need to look to understand their reasons more deeply for the rummaging and identify and fulfill the unmet needs. So for additional resources, we can help you if you are a family member with someone with dementia or a healthcare professional who manages dementia care or caregivers or helps families deal with dementia. Our offices can assist with your difficult dementia cases. You can contact ComForCare or At Your Side locally for information about dementia care services, or call the 800 numbers listed here. At Your Side Home Care is in the Houston, Texas area. And if you're interested in learning more Dementia-Wise methods, there are many other features to Dementia-Wise, and we explore them in our monthly webinars, as well as in your local offices where they're offering family and professional training in Dementia-Wise, as well as family caregiver support groups that you can join. You can also listen to our free webinars. They're held the third Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern. In April, we'll be having Reduce Aggressive Behavior Without Trauma, and in May, we'll be talking about the dementia diagnosis, why it's important, and what to expect. You can register online for these at either ComForCare.com or AtYourSideHomeCare.com. I thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you'll have a great time with your loved one, helping them find a way to rummage or do some other activities that are meaningful and make you both happy. Bye-bye.